Did you feed?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. I'm Krista,
I'm Brandy.
and we're missing Erin tonight. She's got something going on this week, so she's unable to make it. Anthony from DA's group here also might make it, but Tina's going to chime in here in just a few. And then we have DA and Robbie.
Howdy.
Hi.
Howdy.
Welcome.
How y'all doing?
Oh, I've been
Hey,
better.
you can't be stealing my accent.
Slipping back into my hillbilly roots.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Sorry.
Randy, you've had an exciting day.
I did. Okay, so the ongoing saga about my rib. Anybody who was listening last night knows that I broke my rib washing my wiener dog. Now, due to unfortunate events, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to drown the dog, but none of that happened, and I survived. It's been very painful, but I still been going to work every day. So today I went to work like I have been.
Why don't you tell people what you do? You do not have a sit-down job.
No, I do not. I work in a cabinet factory. I make cabinet doors. So I work on equipment and I run all this machinery. So we don't sit down. I'm there approximately 11 hours a day right now. It was 12, but now it's 11, and we get to sit down for maybe 40 minutes out of the day. So I'm standing, which has been good for me. Sitting down is usually harder right now with a broken rib. So I was standing there and I'm running my machine. Well, one of my coworkers walks up behind me and she's like talking in my ear and she's telling me something kind of funny. Hold on just a second. Can you shut that? There we go. Anyway, so she's talking in my ear. So I turn around and look at her and what she said was funny. So I started to, I laughed. Well, she just forgot about it. She decided she was going to hit me in my shoulder. Well, when she hit me in my shoulder, I kind of bent forward, twisted, my rib popped again, and then I couldn't breathe. So I'm there and I'm sitting there, I got tears in my eyes, and, I didn't know whether to scream or pass out. So I kind of went, okay. So I just started working through it. I'm like, I got to make it. So I worked for about an hour and I'm like, I can't. So I went home. I decided to take the medication that my doctor gave me, which is a hopped up naproxen, which, it did pretty good and I was okay. And after a while, I felt sort of all right. I thought I could do this. So then I go get in the shower. I get all my stuff and I'm going and I put it all in the shower and I'm getting ready to wash my lady bits. And then I look down and I got 2 huge wolf spiders in my freaking shower. So then I scream and then I jump out.
Scream too.
Yeah. So then I jump out. Then everything goes everywhere. And then when I jump out, I went to reach down to grab my towel off the tub I broke my rib on. And then I felt the snap again. And I was like, holy Moses. I really thought I was going to die that time. Then I started coming to the door, screaming for my mom. Now, my mom, she's recovering from COVID. Okay, so she has to go in there and kill these huge spiders because I just wasn't having it. And I was bent over. I couldn't move. I was in severe pain. And then I'm like, really? This is not happening. This is all in one day. And not a few days ago, I had a memory pop up on my Facebook. And it was about this epic fight I had with this huge wolf spider a year ago.
I remember your Facebook post.
And then I put it on Blondes and Booze because it is quite funny. So it was almost a year to the date, wolf spiders in the shower. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. It's just my luck.
It sounds like it. Jesus.
Well, wolf spiders freak me out.
They freak me out
too.
I was out doing a Bigfoot investigation out in the middle of butt crack at nowhere in the Mark Twain National Forest, and I found this wolf spider hanging between the 2 trees. That son of a gun was every bit that big. He was so big, in fact, I took a step back and shot it.
Oh my God.
See, that was my next thing. I'm like, I'm gonna have to get my gun and shoot it because you know what? It was just that big.
I would rather waste the hollow point than walk into it.
Right. I
Okay,
just want to.
real quick, I just want to tell everybody that if you're watching through Facebook, we cannot tell who you are. If you go to the YouTube channel, we'll be able to see who you are when you comment. So
Yeah,
just
make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell, please.
If you want to continue watching through Facebook and you don't want to go to YouTube, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and you can authorize your name to appear on screen.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
That works.
I always forget about that.
Yeah, I just see a lot of
Yeah, 'cause
Facebook users.
Right
so-
now, it looks like Facebook user is making a lot of comments.
Right?
Exactly.
Dang it! I wish I knew who you were, so I can say it, so I can tell you hi.
Right. Exactly.
So
I'm
what I
just
was
here for the
telling everybody early before we came on live, I was like, so if you see me in my Yoda pajama pants at any point, just don't say nothing. It matches my Yoda cup. See my
There
Yoda
you go.
cup? So we're matching. We're good. It's all I could get on. I couldn't get on any jeans or anything else. It was like, nope, it's not happening.
I totally understand. I've got zombie pajama pants, so
I have Mountain Dew pajama pants.
Well, there you go. I
don't
have a
pajama
baby
pants,
Yoda.
Sorry.
those are the fancy ones that you'd wear to Walmart.
Right. Well, I do have a baby Yoda doll.
Nice.
And I do have to say this. I got a baby Yoda doll, and he has his very own suitcase, and he travels with me to pretty much every haunted location I go to. So he gets his pictures taken and all kinds of stuff. So,
Well, here's hoping he doesn't get possessed like Annabelle.
well, you know what? This is my thing. I can throw him outside. He can sleep
Toss
in
him
the
to the wolf
snow. He can
spiders.
sleep in the
Right.
rain. It doesn't matter. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to be in the house.
Right. True story.
But I figure if you're going to possess anything, possess that, not me. We're all good.
right.
I'm still
I hear
thinking
ya.
about finding the wolf spiders in the shower. I'm pretty sure if that had happened to me, my wife would have seen me sprint across the living room wearing the shower curtain.
Do you know how much
Me too.
sleep I'm going to lose out on tonight just because they're in my shower in my bedroom? Oh,
You didn't go back in there with a can of hairspray and a lighter?
I couldn't move after that because after I got my towel, my rib kind of popped a little bit, and then I was done. I was like, "That's it."
Jeez.
And then I sent my mother in there, and she took off her shoe, was killing them. And then I'm like, "Mom, did you pick them up?" She goes, "Yep," and all their little legs too.
Jesus. That's crazy.
All 16 of them.
You count the eyeballs? Did you get all them too?
Wait a minute, I've got 17 legs here. That means there's another spider.
Right.
And he's a
He's limping, but he's still there.
quadriplegic.
That's funny. No, thank
That
you on
hurts.
spiders.
Woo,
I don't
that
do
hurts.
spiders even a little bit.
I'd rather deal
Okay.
with snakes than spiders.
Me too. I don't mind snakes, honestly. Snakes don't bother me.
You know what?
Well,
There's no good snake like a dead snake. The Bible says so.
that's how I feel about spiders.
Yeah, I don't mind snakes so much. They're really good and chili.
Oh no.
I've had rattlesnake and chili many times.
Oh no.
Oh,
Really
Yeah,
good.
you know, and it may
Tastes
even
like
taste
what?
good, you know, and I'm not going to knock anything. I'm really
Tastes
not.
like greasy chicken.
Ugh.
yeah.
A little greasy.
See, no. Just because I know it's in there, I wouldn't want it.
I tell you what's really greasy: black bear. Oh my God, that is greasy.
Yep.
I've never had bear.
I've had bear. I've had a lot
Possum.
of stuff. Most people.
It's really
I've had
greasy.
possum. Possum.
So does it taste like chicken like everything else?
Bear? No, bear tastes like bear.
It tastes like chicken.
Bears is
Like
real
bear.
gamey. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's kind of gamey and
Okay.
it got a real strong flavor to it. But you know, if you were living someplace where you didn't have a whole lot of heat, that's like the perfect food because it's loaded with fat.
Wow.
And you
I
need
like
that
gator
fat to
too.
burn.
Now
Gator's
I am a
good.
gator fan.
alligator is really good.
I like
Yeah.
alligator.
I like it too.
So I
But
suppose
it,
you eat frog legs too.
Me? No, I don't like frog legs.
I don't know.
Just don't like it.
I like buffalo and deer and
Oh,
stuff like that. But and I like elk. I've had elk before.
Yep.
I've yet to meet an ungulate I didn't like.
I'm gonna tell you something else is really good that I had at this place we got up here called Saskatoons. It's complete wild game and stuff like that.
Oh, I like
Emu.
that sound of that.
Oh yeah, it's
Emu's good. I've had emu.
Emu is excellent. I had it. I was
Wow.
like, this just it tastes like a steak. It has chicken and all other kind of bird, quail, and all that stuff. It's just got a different type of flavor to it. Emu is just like eating a beef steak.
Really?
Yes.
No
it
idea.
is
I got to
excellent.
give a shout out to my friend Linda. I just seen her in chat. Hi, Linda. Yeah, my kids said that they had emu. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, there's a little town over here in Pexico where they have I want to say a goat festival. Where
I've been there. I know where Pexico is.
yeah, where they have the goat festival,
I've been
and
to the goat
I've never
festival.
tried goat either.
It's actually pretty
I've
good.
had goat and sheep.
Yeah.
Mutton. Mutton's
Sheep's
good.
good. Yeah.
I
like
had the
mutton.
goat. It was barbecued. You know, at that festival, they put it. It's like a barbecue sandwich, like pulled pork or something. Is how their sandwiches are.
If you ever get down to Silver Dollar City down by Branson, there's a shop at the back end of the park that sells different types of jerky. They got
Yes.
like 20 different kinds of jerky. You can get alligator jerky and emu jerky, and
I know
every time
exactly
we go,
where
we
you're
always get a
talking.
sample bag.
I know where you're talking. It's good too.
Yeah, they've got
I
some
always get
fantastic
some when I
jerky.
go. I haven't been in a couple years. I need to go back.
Yeah. No kidding. So somebody says camel is decent.
Mondoc, I'll take your word for it. I ain't eating camel.
Never had
Right.
camel.
Right.
George Jennings says, I prefer shark meat. I've had shark, and shark's one of those animals that tastes like nothing else. It just tastes like shark. Little rubbery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They try to make like scallops out of it, where scallops are usually made out of what is it, stingray or something? I don't know. But anyway, they try to do it out of shark, and doesn't taste the same.
I was on a beach in Southern California, down near San Diego, visiting a buddy of mine, and these guys were catching reef sharks right there on the beach. And as soon as they hauled them out, they were cutting them up and grilling them right there on the beach. That's where I had it. It was pretty damn good.
Wow.
The seasoning they were using, I don't know what it was, but it was freaking fantastic.
We need to find out. That does sound pretty good, though. I'd do that.
They had a bag of seasoning that they were putting on it. I didn't think they asked what was mixed in the bag, and then they were squeezing lime juice on it as they were grilling it. It
Wow.
was very nice, Clark.
That's cool. Well, I guess we're here to
Real
talk
nice, Clark.
about demonic stuff. Ed and Lorraine Warren. If we were kind of chatting backstage I was with Robbie and Brandy, and talking about some different cases of theirs, and some of their credibility, I guess I have to question now after reading into this subject. And I guess we can talk about some of their cases and then see what you guys think. You guys
Yeah,
think
like we were talking about, a lot of their stuff is like they claim that all this stuff happened, and they claim that they have this evidence, but it has not been released. Now, if it's in their archives and they're not letting go of it, who knows? But there's a lot of stuff I'm kind of wondering. I have a lot of questions.
Right, I do too, honestly. We can start off. Let's talk about the South Bend werewolf case.
Okay.
Okay, it happened over in Essex, England, and a guy named William Ramsey. He was 9 years old, and he was outside, and this big gush of wind come over him, and he just got this mean, fierce, where he just wanted to hurt people, hurt something. He was 9 years old. Keep in mind, he pulled a fence post out of the ground, and that was it. That was nothing else happened until he was an adult. He had went out with some friends, and if they were all out drinking and partying, and him and his friend were on their way home, and he had that urge again, and he just attacked his friend, like started eating him, and claims that he turned into a werewolf.
It sounds more like Wendigo psychosis, like that guy that attacked that guy on the bus in Canada.
Right.
Werewolf might have been the only thing he could equate it with, but the Wendigo psychosis is a real thing. I mean, it's a psychological diagnosis. It just might have been on him since he was a kid, and it just snapped at that particular moment.
So when the Wendigo psychosis, do they have ungodly strength?
Well, they basically have a psychotic break with reality to make them want to eat. I mean, the guy that ate that guy on the bus in Canada,
Yeah.
He was doing some pretty impressive stuff, and when the police finally took him down, he had strips of this guy cut off and put in Ziploc bags in his pocket. And
Oh,
he didn't go to prison. He went to a psychiatric hospital, and I believe they released him in 2016.
No.
oh,
Yeah, he's
So
out. He's back
he's
out on the street.
walking. Oh my gosh. Well, they said that this guy, he was baring his teeth and growling while curling his hands like claws. So I guess that would kind of make sense, like a werewolf type thing. Well, this was in 1989 when this happened, and Ed and Lorraine Warren heard of it, and they ended up having an exorcist done by Bishop Robert McKenna.
Mhm.
And supposedly after that, it never happened again.
So, was the guy prosecuted for this?
I couldn't find any information on that.
Because I'm pretty sure the local constabulary wasn't going to go, oh, he was possessed. Nope, we're good.
Right, exactly. Well, there is a case of Ed and Lorraine Warrens, and I follow him. I'm actually friends with the guy on Facebook and chatted with him a minute, and his name is Arnie Johnson. And I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that case of Ed and Lorraine Warrens, but he attacked and killed his landlord. But before that, his girlfriend's house was haunted by a demonic entity, and the demonic entity was preying on her little brother. He was just a child. I want to say like between 10 and 12 years old.
mm-hmm.
And he invited it in. He said, leave the kid alone, come after me. The demonic entity did. So it slowly started possessing him, and he ended up murdering his landlord. And he did time, and Ed and Lorraine Warren went to court claiming that he was possessed by the devil and that kind of thing. And I don't remember how much time he did, but he did some time for it.
Is that the one that their new movie, The Devil Made Me Do It? Is that the one that one's based on?
It might be.
Yes, I think so. I think you're right, Robbie. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the ones I read about in that article I was telling y'all about earlier about all their movies. That was because it takes place more in the courtroom than it does about the haunting. And
according to the American Psychological Association, Wendigo psychosis is a severe culture-bound syndrome occurring among northern Algonquin Indians living in Canada and the northeastern United States. The syndrome is characterized by delusions of becoming possessed by a flesh-eating monster, the Wendigo, and manifested in symptoms including depression, violence, compulsive desire for human flesh, and sometimes actual cannibalism. The psychosis is known by various variant names and spellings, among them Witico, all the various spellings of Wendigo. But the thing is the guy on the Trans-Alaska Highway was Asian.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he wasn't an Algonquin at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not even close.
Right.
Yeah, that's odd. I don't know. Do you believe that's a real disease, or is it just an excuse?
Well, it could be either. I mean, there are a lot of bad behaviors in people that have been given an excuse by saying it's some sort of disorder. But with this one, considering that people are actually eating one another, and that's generally not the normal default for people, I would lean toward the side of caution and say this is a legit psychosis.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. But then it says after that this exorcism took place with him that he was fine. It never happened again. So I don't know.
It may have just been a case of like the placebo effect. He believed he was cured, and therefore he was.
That's true.
Yep.
Very true.
It doesn't necessarily have to mean it's demonic, but it doesn't mean it's not either.
Right. What do you guys think? Go ahead, Brandon.
That's kind of like jumping back to the werewolf case.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ed and Lorraine stated that they have video of this guy turning into a werewolf. They have the video. Now, where it is today, nobody knows. They never released it. I don't know why. I mean, because that would just, make their point. Like, this really happened. Here's the video. Watch it. And they didn't release it. So, it makes me question the validity of everything that they said happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think about the Amityville case? How legit do you think that is?
That one, considering how much documentation was done on it, and well, also the fact that Amityville house.
Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, my computer's acting crazy.
Oh.
My laptop is gonna die. I mean, I'm shocked it's able to.
The crap top.
Yeah.
I have to use my phone, so there you go. That's what happens. I mean, mine acts crazy and does all kinds of stuff. But anyway, the Amityville case.
I think that was a legit haunting. I mean, there's just too many people that have come forward that said they had something to do with that house, that they experienced paranormal events in this house. And I don't think Ronnie DeFeo, I don't think he did that, on his own urging. I mean, who gets up one night and is like, you know what? I just feel like shotgunning everybody in the house.
Right.
He either had some severe mental health issues that went undiagnosed, or something was urging him to do that.
And he had zero problems with anything before that, right?
Right. As far as we know, and even the priest that came to exorcise the house fled the house.
Wow. Really?
Well, the family that moved in after the DeFeos, they brought in a priest, and he left the house. He refused to come back.
Really?
Now in the movie The Amityville Horror, they greatly dramatized the event,
Right.
but the priest never said why he wouldn't come back.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know. I feel like I agree with you on DeFeo. I think he was possessed, when he did kill his family. But then again, I've seen interviews later when he was in prison. He didn't really have much remorse, though. So could he still been possessed?
Yeah, that is exactly my point. Some of it is like when you see it, it's just like he's just talking to you like nothing happened. Like it was just a normal day.
Yeah.
Linda Gleason in the chat, she says, I recently heard that the Amityville thing was faked. Maybe the haunting afterward was, but the fact that DeFeo killed everybody in the house is established fact.
Yeah, that
right.
happened.
Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
But as for the actual possession, well, we're going back to Ed and Lorraine again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Everything with them was it was seances, and it was a Ouija board, and it was everything seemed to be demonic. Every case that they picked up was demonic.
Right.
Yeah, which to me that's a little suspect.
Right.
I mean,
right.
They could have showed up and went, okay, this is just bad pipes or something like that once in a while. But every time they get a bump in the house that's demonic, that's a little suspect right there.
Yeah.
Of course, I never met either of them. I don't know anything firsthand directly. The only thing I know really about the Warrens is what I've read and what I've watched in movies. And of course, movies are going to blow things way out of proportion because they want a movie that's going to sell.
Yeah. They need to make their money. But, in the paranormal field, we're told question everything.
Right.
Question everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even if it was somebody that I highly respected doing an investigation, if they come across something that I'm not too sure about, well, I'm going to question it. Absolutely. Regardless of who you are.
Right.
Well, it's no different than some Bigfoot researchers we've got that, there's a Bigfoot behind every bush and every leaf and
you get all these red circle photos.
Yeah, the red circles. That it's like you have to question, and I don't think questioning stuff like that. I don't think that means that you're discrediting it, or saying it's not true. But DA and I've got other friends that have sent us pictures, and we're like, I don't see it. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just
there's a lot of pictures that I see that I'm not seeing anything that you're seeing, but I wasn't there.
Right. That's my thing. I wasn't there. So I never, if I don't see it, I just don't comment.
I mean, because what if you're hearing movement and all of this other kind of stuff? And, we're just seeing just a little snap of what happened. Right. That's it.
And again, we weren't there. We didn't see or hear, what they heard. And,
correct.
And I've been told that if some of these are interdimensional, that their pictures don't take well. So I don't know. Who am I to say though? You know, I'm not, because I wasn't there.
Right.
People that
Right.
don't believe are never going to accept anything as proof, and that goes in cryptids as well as it does in paranormal. Until they have their own experience, if that picture was photoshopped, or this or that audio was faked, or that was just them whispering that, and that kind of thing. However, once they have their own experience, they tend to become pretty tried and true believers, unless they want to just bury their head in the sand. But with the Warrens, it's very difficult to say what's true or not, because we weren't there. Could it have been demonic? Yeah. Could they have been doing things just to get themselves in the limelight and make money? That is also a possibility, but we don't know. And it's easy for us to sit here an armchair quarterback and second guess them, but Brandy does bring up a good point. If every investigation they did was demonic, that right there is enough to be cause you to be suspect. So if you call one investigation into question, you're calling them all into question.
Right. And same thing. Have you guys heard about the Smurls? They were
I read a little bit about it.
Yeah. So it was Jack and Janet Smurl, and they were both of them were being sexually assaulted by a demonic entity.
Kind of like The Entity, the movie The Entity.
The movie, the movie.
Yeah.
And that scared the bejesus out of me. I'm sorry, but it
that's
did.
Supposedly based on real events.
Yeah, well, it's and not to bring it up, but it's the whole part where she is in the nude and you can see all of these
finger impression.
But no, just no. That no, I don't think so. And do I believe stuff like that can happen? Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because Krista can also attest to this. We have been in the field where we have been touched and our hair has been tugged, or we felt a little nudge or
pushed.
So can that happen? Yes, it can. So I mean, I believe this case 100%. 100%. Yep. Because I think it can happen, and it does sound demonic. I mean, this could be a true case.
Yeah, it does. I guess the only thing with like the Warrens, if they only talk about the demonic ones. Maybe if they would talk about some that weren't all demonic, but still negative, maybe it might give more credence. Credit to
the ones they were able to debunk, that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, I heard they had a whole slew of other investigators on their team later on.
Well, I know John Zaffis was one.
Right. There was a ton of them. So they would send out these other people to these other cases. And then these ones that were, highly suspected of being demonic, then Ed and Lorraine would show up.
Yeah.
And maybe a case where they were the big guns. They only came out for the truly bad cases. So, again, we don't have firsthand information, so it's hard to sit here and second guess them from an armchair.
Right. The only thing that kind of, so you went to the Conjuring house, Brandy.
Yes.
And so do you want to tell everybody about what the Perone family actually said, what really did happen at that house?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try to tell this as best as I can, as quick as I can. At the Perone house, the husband and wife were in the home. The husband was actually seeing a female ghost in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So they had formed a kind of, it's very strange and twisted tale. They had formed a kind of a bond, these two, the spirit and the husband. Now, the female spirit basically, in a nutshell, wanted the husband and the kids for her own family. So she started to attack the wife and scratching her, pushing her, just terrorizing this woman. So I want to say the husband was in love with the spirit. We're just going to go there. So as rumor has it, and I'm just going to say rumor because I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. As it goes, the husband finally decided you know, that they needed to do something. So Ed and Lorraine showed up at the house.
Right.
So they decided to have a seance in the dining room, which, let me tell you, that dining room, I had the most amazing paranormal experiences in that dining room. So I'm believing this 100%, that they were in there doing a seance. And during the seance, the wife was pushed all the way into the living room, like basically thrown into the living room. Now, Ed went over to her, and then the husband went to his wife, and Ed told the husband, do not touch her. She is possessed. Then you will be also possessed. So the husband said, basically, get away from me, get away from my wife. And Ed Warren got hit.
Yeah, I thought he got cold cocked.
Yeah, he sure did. So
did the husband crack him, or did an unseen force crack him?
The husband did, because he told him, basically, don't you tell me I can't touch my wife. So he threw the Warrens out, all the people, everybody out. Lorraine came back a few days later, and she came up to the door and knocked on the door. The wife opened the door, saw that it was Lorraine Warren, and then shut the door. That was the last the Warrens had been in the house. That was it. So they didn't have this big, long investigation and all of this. They had people come in, set up equipment, things like that, but they didn't even get into it. They were thrown out, and they weren't allowed back in the house. Now, after that, the husband decided that, you know, his wife was right. They needed to get out of this house. They figured that if they moved out of the Conjuring house, that the attacks on the wife would stop. Well, they didn't. They continued wherever they went. They continued scratches, the terrorizing everything. Then after that, they decided this is it. We're going to get a divorce. When the divorce was final, the attacks finally stopped.
So basically, that Bathsheba, or whatever her name is, that was supposed to be haunting the house, they got divorced. She got the husband. Is that what she thought?
Okay. That's a whole different story. Now, Bathsheba, they accused of being a witch.
Right.
That this started this started way back when.
Gotcha.
They said that she was a witch, and that something had happened where she had put a curse on that family and that house, and da. Well, there is nothing to collaborate any of it. I mean, it's just hearsay. It's folklore. It's just a story that was handed down.
Yeah.
Even though she was a real life person, and there's a cemetery out there that does have her family members and everything in it, and she is buried, I want to say Harrisburg, but she's buried around there somewhere. But they say that there was nothing stating, or there was no evidence that she was ever a witch.
Yeah. Interesting.
But to go on with the story, so the man and the woman divorced. The whole attacking situation stopped, but the man to this day will still go back to the house and look for that spirit.
Wow.
He'll look for her.
Connection.
Yeah, because there's still this weird, twisted love connection, and sometimes he sees her and sometimes he don't, and he says that she's mad at him because he left with his wife.
Wow,
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. As far as going on, like feeling connections, so I know a person that lived in a demonic house, and he no longer lives in that house, but there's times he still feels like he's drawn back to that house. So it's kind of the same scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And whether Hey, Bettina. It's nice to see you. Sorry, we're right in the middle of our Conjuring house stories.
You're good. I'm just listening. You're fun. I'm listening and taking notes over here.
Right. Anyway, that's I find that interesting, just because I've heard that now more than once.
Yeah, I hear it a lot, especially in high activity homes where the people who live there, they're like, we got to get out, and once they get out, they're still drawn back to the home. They're still trying to get back to the place where they said they need to get out of, because something is telling them to come back.
Right. Wow.
Now, whether that be demonic or I have no idea. But
So
to have that kind of pull on somebody is really crazy.
So did you actually get a peaceful night's rest at that house?
Oh, no. Oh, geez, no. I mean, well, first of all, we were having fun till about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And they've got a run upstairs where they've got 3 bedrooms, and they're straight, and there's a hallway. Well, it's all open, but there's just doors in between, and they're all open. So there's 3 bedrooms up there, and then there's a little cubby hole in between the 2nd and 3rd bedroom. Well, that's where they say they see this vision of a little boy.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, I didn't get any of that. But about 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm laying there and I'm asleep, and then I hear something and I wake up, and I just got my eyes open, and then I start hearing running downstairs, and I'm like, okay. And then I start hearing voices, and I'm like, okay. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, nobody's up, and I'm like, I'm not getting up. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing this by myself. Forget it. So I lay back down. About a half hour later, because I was with another lady, Holly, which she's been on our show before. Mm-hmm. We were sleeping in the middle bedroom, and it happened again. But we both woke up, both sat up, and I'm like, did you hear that? She goes, yeah. I said, are you getting up? She said, yeah. I said, okay. So we both get up, pajamas and all, grabbing paranormal equipment, and we're running downstairs trying to figure out where this stuff was coming from. So we went downstairs, and we went all the way down to the basement, and we were investigating down there for probably about a good hour. But her son asked us later, he goes, did you come in, to the room? We said, no, did not. And he said, somebody came in and asked if we were ready to go.
Gotcha.
And it was a female voice. And she's like, no, we were down in the basement. So she had a voice recorder running in the bedroom. And we do that. We leave it running all night long, because the funniest things happen when you're sleeping.
Right.
But she listened to it, and it's on there. You could hear somebody walking through there, and you can hear a female voice, even though on the voice recorder you can't hear exactly what it said, but you can hear it talking, and it was not us.
Was that one of the EVPs you sent me?
No. I sent you some other good ones. No.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I listened to them. So we were going to try to play some EVPs for you guys tonight, but, it's not in the right format. So Brandy's going to fix it, and a later show, we will play some of them for you guys. So what about Annabelle?
That creepy doll.
So did Brandy stay in did she stay in that house overnight?
Yes.
Yeah, sure did.
She's crazy, isn't she?
Actually, it's one of the nicer accommodations I've had.
Shocked. I mean, so are they letting
I do that stuff all the time.
Stay? I mean, or is this? Oh my God, that's terrifying. I mean, I watched that show, and when I watched it, it was terrifying because just seeing them throw. I don't know, like some stuff I know they said for the movie was embellished, but just seeing when, what was it? When the demon possessed girl was on top of that dresser, and they're in the room, and the girls are terrified. Oh my God, that just made my flesh crawl.
When it was on top of the dresser and closed the door in the bedroom. Oh,
yes,
yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, I almost died just watching it.
I'm gonna have to pull my Anthony card out on this one. I'll go in the woods and go head to head with a Gugwee or a dog man. Don't put me in a room with no creepy little dog. There's gonna be another opening to get out of that room. I promise.
I would have punted it down the hallway.
I'm a big guy. If I get up ahead of steam, there's going to be another door opening.
There's going to be a fire in the trash can out back. I can tell you if I run into something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of the nicer accommodations I've had. I mean, honestly, it has. I mean, I've slept in abandoned hospitals, houses, you name it. Things that
shady places.
Yeah, for some pretty sketchy areas.
Yeah.
You just find time to take a 20-minute power nap and go back to it. places with no power, no water. You're not sure what's crawling around on the floor, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I did not have any feelings of anything demonic inside that house. I didn't. It was absolutely amazing. The contact that I was getting was very intelligent. I mean, you'd ask a question, they'd ask you a question back. It was just that intelligent. We were using what's called a spirit box. A spirit box is using radio waves, and where the spirit can use that energy and use the words coming off radio stations, and it sweeps really fast, and it just picks its words and says stuff. Well, one of the guys that was with us said, you sound like you might be getting tired. And then it comes back and it says, well, might be, and then he says, well, let's just talk about something else. He said, what's your favorite month? And then you hear the spirit box say January. The guy goes, well, January is a great month. That's my birthday, and then you hear what date. It's like it was just coming back and forth. Wow. And it was just using any equipment we had was being used. If it lit up,
was it male or female voice?
It was a male.
It was male.
It was definitely male. But like I said, any equipment that we had, if it had lights, if it beeped, it was going off at all different times. Wow. And speaking about the Annabelle doll, here we go. We're at the Conjuring house and they have a replica. Because if anybody's seen the Annabelle doll, it's in a case. And it looks like, and it's like a little house looking case. And they made this replica and it is sitting in the Conjuring house. I had taken a little cat ball. Well, they call them ghost balls, but it lights up when it's moved. So I put one over there just to be cute. I'm like, okay. Now, granted, this is in the dining room where the wife was thrown from the seance table into the living room. Now, this is one of the big stories in the Conjuring house. So it's in the dining room. We're sitting in the doorway between the library and the dining room. And then I hear the spirit box, they turn around. And I'm like, okay, this is all right, fine. I'll turn around. So I start looking. I can't tell you how many times I've heard something say, turn around, it's behind you, look behind you. Nothing's ever happened, ever. So then I turn and I'm looking. And then next thing you know, this ball just starts blinking right in front of the Annabelle doll, just blinking. And I thought, oh, there it is. The first time ever. There it is. Told me to turn around and something actually did happen. I was so excited. You should have heard me. I was screaming. It's all on video. Like, look.
Wow, that's crazy.
But no, that Annabelle doll, that's a creepy doll.
Mm-hmm. Well, supposedly it was given to a nurse.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say this. Supposedly it's given to a nurse by her mother, and just weird things started happening, and they had a medium come in there, and she said that the doll was harmless. Well, then Ed and Lorraine Warren came in and said it was demonic, and then that's when they took the doll from there.
Well, I think that spirits can attach themselves. And yeah, everybody hears about it's a doll. It attaches to a doll. Well, what thing are you going to go to that you would look at and say it's harmless? A doll. It's harmless.
Yeah.
It's actually harmless.
Chucky.
Right. Well, I hate that guy. I hate that guy.
I'm not scared of that one. That creepy Annabelle doll.
Right. Well, because we were talking about dolls, Krista and I said, Annabelle's creepy, but it's a Raggedy Ann doll. Bettina, you've seen a Raggedy Ann doll. They're creepy to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I just put down there in the comments.
Yeah, it's
the original, the doll. I mean, I think at one point, when I was watching the documentary on it, I think at one point one of them had got up and gone down the hallway to use the bathroom, and the doll was actually sitting on the toilet, like using the bathroom, and it's like they were looking like, what? I don't know. Do y'all remember that? Did y'all see the documentary on it?
I would have grabbed the plunger and forced that thing down the drain.
If I'd have found it there, I'd have said, shut the lid. Shut the lid.
Yeah.
They might have needed a plumber, but it was going down the
and I'm
toilet.
not trying to be funny, but it was actually in there. They said that it was actually in there with the door closed and everything, like just sitting on the and looking at. I swear to God, like y'all have to watch
see it
the
look up from the
documentary on it,
newspaper.
like yeah,
Right.
I mean, it was just looking at. I mean, but that doll that they chose
Nope.
for the movie was creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
I
creepy.
gotta say
yeah.
that was.
I do think.
Well,
But,
another
so was that
another
whole
famous case.
investigation that they did, was that something that went on for a long time as far as that doll was concerned? I mean, as far as the house was
It's still
concerned?
going. It's still going.
I actually, Jeremy Leonard,
Really?
I seen on Facebook. He's at a conference this weekend, and he's up that way. And Tony Spira, who was Ed and Lorraine Warrens' son-in-law, he was on that. He part of that 28 Days Haunted that just came out on Netflix. Well, I guess they're having some conference up there, but the doll was being moved today to this Paracon. So,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the Annabelle doll is not the only possessed doll.
No,
There's Robert the doll.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Robert the doll, years and years and years ago, was given to a little boy
Mhm.
on his birthday. Now, this doll was actually produced by the Steiff Company, which, if you're familiar with the Steiff Company, they're a German company and they make teddy bears.
Mhm.
Now, these teddy bears are highly sought after, and they're very, very expensive. But this is where this doll came from, and it was actually made for a display. Well, the mom got a hold of it and gave it to her son. Well, then the son started acting weird, and he'd only play with the doll. He didn't want to, be around anyone else. He then gave his own name, Robert, to the doll. And he no longer went by Robert. He gave the doll his name, and he didn't want them to call him Robert anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, very strange.
So Erin went to Florida
Right.
in the springtime, and she went there and seen Robert the doll, and she actually brought me back. He's like a little, I don't know, 4-inch thing of Robert the doll, and I wish I had it down here. I've got it upstairs now, but it's they say you have to be real respectful, like even ask to take his picture and thank him, and
Oh, no, they got a
go to-
list of rules. They got a list
Yeah.
of rules. They say that you have to go in there, introduce yourself, be polite. If you're going to take his picture, you have to ask permission. And then
Right.
when you leave, you have to say goodbye. Now, because people didn't follow the rules or whatever, there's tons, you can look them up online. There's tons and tons of stories about people who have went and seen the doll and then didn't follow the rules, and then all of a sudden when they left, bad things started to happen.
Yeah, like all the way from car wrecks to people getting sick to even dying.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if you go in and see the doll now, you'll see on the wall behind it, there's letters, just thousands of letters that are pinned to the wall about people writing to Robert and apologizing for their behavior.
Yeah.
And asking him, to stop, because it was just bad luck after that. Now, I don't care if it's real, it's not real. I'm going to go by them rules, and I'm not going to miss a one, because I don't care. If it's real, I don't want it to happen to me.
Right.
I'm just like, no, I'll be all right.
Right.
I mean, look what happens to me now.
Right.
Breaking ribs, fighting spiders.
Yeah. Crystal says the documentary is now on Discovery Plus, and I think I have seen the previews for that. I just haven't watched it yet. So anyway, AJ wants to know about the Island of the Dolls they showed on Expedition X with Josh Gates and crew.
Oh, geez, that is
I saw that.
creepy.
I did too.
I would have gone back with about 100 gallons of gasoline and burnt that island to the ground.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that the one where they found the little girl in the water, had drowned in the water?
I think so.
I'm not sure.
I think it is. I think it is. And so I guess her spirit would appear, and that's why all the dolls came to the island, because people would bring her presents, and that's how all the dolls got there.
Right.
But no, that's creepy. That's no.
Creepy.
I mean, dolls are okay. I don't want them staring at me though. They
Yeah.
freak me out a little.
I ain't lost nothing on that island.
Yeah, I don't need to go there. Gonna avoid it.
I'll
And
just leave that island alone. He can stay
Yeah.
there.
Isn't it in like South America or something?
I think it's
somewhere?
in Mexico.
Mexico, yeah. Somewhere not around here.
Yeah.
Someplace I don't plan on visiting anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen a little bit on it. It's in a rural area. It you have to really hike
on
to
that
get to it.
episode, didn't they get there by like canoe or something?
Yeah, they
Mhm,
took a boat.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. So
And they can keep it because I don't want it.
Right there with you.
speaking of
What-
creepy things, what do you guys what's your opinions on clowns?
Clowns don't bother me. But I had a buddy I used to work with when I was a corrections officer. He was deathly afraid of clowns. And we had these intercom boxes throughout the jail. And he was walking by one of the doors one time, and I clicked on the intercom and went, "We all float down here." And
See,
boom,
you
down the
know,
hallway he went.
and I read that book. I can't even tell you what
Me
year.
too.
As soon as he wrote that and that book came out, I read it, and then I was like, "Oh no, no clowns, no clowns, no, thank you." And and even when like I go to somewhere a circus, just say a circus, and there's clowns, I'm kind of like, "Hey, hi," and just keep walking. I don't want to stop. I don't want to chat. Don't touch me. I don't want your picture. Get away from me.
I dang
you
near
know-
lost
you know
my
what?
job and had to go to prison about a clown. We went to a haunted house or a haunted trail, and this jackass dressed up like a clown with a chainsaw comes up. Number one, I don't like clowns. Dressing up like that's creepy. But Taylor was a lot younger then, and he kept sticking that chainsaw up at her like that, and she was scared to death. And I dang near killed him because I was like, first off, you're creepy as hell. Get away from me and get away from
Right.
my daughter. And he just kept on walking and kept on coming closer. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, if you don't back up right now, I'm gonna take that chainsaw and I'm gonna wrap it around your head. I promise. He
Right.
finally got the picture and backed off, but
Yeah. You know, I got this picture that my dad, he painted years ago, and it's a huge picture. It's of a clown. And so I remember when I was a kid, it used to be hanging in my room, so it never bothered me. So when I got older, my dad's still alive. So if you're watching this, Dad, I apologize, but your picture is sitting in the garage because nobody in my house will let it in the house. And it's just this picture of a clown.
You know those videos people posted all over the internet for the longest time of cars driving down the road and there'd be this creepy clown standing in the middle of the road blocking the way?
Yep.
That would have been fatal for whoever was doing that had that been me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either one, I would have either accelerated and clipped him, or like, all right, you're going to get out of the road, or you're going to get the business end of a Glock.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. I don't know. Clowns don't bother me, but
They don't freak me out, but if I'm driving down a lonely country road and there's one in the road, we're going to have a problem.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Nighthawk says John Wayne Gacy, and that's very true.
Uh-huh.
I do have a little story about John Wayne Gacy. So Brandy knows this too. Robin Terry, that owns Ashmore Estates, he owns the Haunted R Theater up in Illinois. And I've been there a couple times. Well, he has a painting by John Wayne Gacy, and John Wayne Gacy is attached to that painting, which I think is interesting, kind of creepy. And he actually, that's his home. That's where he lives. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, big pass on that one.
Yeah.
I don't want it. Thanks.
The ghost
know
of
what I'm
serial
talking
killer
about,
clowns. Ugh.
Randy, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, I do. I'm like, ooh, no. You just you get a weird feeling even walking past it. You're like, ooh.
what's worse
Yeah.
than the ghost of a serial killer? The ghost of a serial killer who dressed up like a clown.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. So
I-
back on Ed and Lorraine Warren, and then
okay.
we'll move on.
Okay, let's go.
Got one more house to talk about. A Haunting in Connecticut. Do you guys remember that movie?
Yep.
Where the people moved
Yes.
into the funeral home because their son was sick, so they rented a house to, get him treatment and this and that.
Mhm.
So the house was supposedly, an old funeral home. but from doing my research, it was actually like a townhome or a duplex, and the stuff was there, for a funeral home. But the lady that lived above them, she never had anything happen. And then, I guess supposedly this entity picked up on the son, the one that was sick, and did, malicious things to him. So years later, it comes out that supposedly it wasn't real. It was sensationalized. And, the guy that wrote the book for Ed and Lorraine Warren and the family said that, he was said to sensationalize a lot of that. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I read that article or one like that about.
Yeah.
He said that a lot of that stuff. He was like, no, pump it up, make it look a lot more.
Well, that's the same thing with a lot of these ghost shows on TV. They're told you're going to find something that's going to freak people out. So that's why I take most movies and television shows with a grain of salt, because they've got to sensationalize it, because it's all about ratings on television. It's all about sales when it comes to movies.
Right.
And I'll tell you, as an author, you want to write a story that people are going to buy. So if you like you've got a story that's basically, there was this kid and he wasn't feeling well, and he talked to an invisible friend, and you have 12 chapters of that.
Right.
People are going to get pretty bored with that and probably not finish the book. But if at every chapter there's something crazy happening, somebody's getting thrown across the room or people are getting terrorized, that'll sell.
Yeah.
So,
like John Doe said, if they didn't find anything, it wouldn't have been much of a show.
Right.
Much of a movie. That's true. Very true. I just, and apparently the boy was, he had been diagnosed as being schizophrenic and, things like that, which does coincide with the demonic, if somebody's truly possessed. So, I mean, that could go either way. I don't know.
Well, and these TV shows, what people don't understand is that these groups don't go like just one night. They're there for a week.
Right.
And what you see in their half-hour, 45-minute show is what they get in a week.
Right.
It's not just in one night.
Exactly.
So when I talk about the Conjuring House and everything, that was all one night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I find that place so amazing to me. But there's been other places that I've been a bunch of times where I get a couple things, a couple little this, a couple little that,
Yeah.
But I've never had that kind of activity in one location.
Right. Yeah. I get it.
So, like I said, they're there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they just get the bare minimum.
Right.
A couple little voices, or just.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to embellish, I guess, to make the show good.
Right.
Because they've spent the money to go. Right.
And Brandy and I know several of the people that's on TV personally, and they're there. Well, KD, for example, how long did he tell us he was there for? Like 2 months filming, and it was like 7 shows.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
7 hours out of 2 months.
Of course, they were in Butte, Montana, and they were investigating the whole town. It wasn't just one location where they kept going back to. So every location that they moved to, they had to move all the equipment to that, and that takes time. I mean, to put all them cameras up and everything else, people don't understand that either. That takes a long time. That takes a good chunk of your investigation time out.
Right. I would agree. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff, so I don't know. I always thought that Ed and Lorraine Warren were the shit, they were it. And then, reading a lot of this stuff, researching some of this stuff, it's put a lot of questions in my mind.
Well,
on their character,
I agree, especially if they're hearing that they were only in that one house for just a few minutes.
Right.
Yet there's this whole, grandiose story behind it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole movie.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't release a lot of information, so they say. They didn't release a lot of their evidence that they had found.
Yeah.
Is it because everybody was calling them fakes and that, that it would be wasted to put it out there? Or did they just not get it in the first place?
Right.
I mean, that's the questions that I have. It's just like going back to the werewolf story in the beginning of our podcast here. They said they have the video of him changing into a werewolf. Well, where is it?
Right. That would be fantastic to see.
Exactly.
And it would lend huge amounts of credence to their claims.
Right. And they have the foundation now, the Warren Foundation. And I wonder if they have any of that stuff in their archives. I mean, why are they?
I was told that Tony Spira, he has everything that they had. So I'd be curious, but I bet it won't come out.
Big claims require big proof. You can claim that you grew up around, you had a personal relationship with Bigfoot. You guys used to skip rocks along the lake, and that you had secret names for each other, and the fist bump handshake, and that Bigfoot was your best buddy. But if you've got 0 images and no footprints and no hair samples and no castings, and at that point you're like, I think somebody's just spinning a story here.
Right.
Yeah. So they have photos, but it doesn't show much. It just shows a guy who's just making a face like he's angry, or looked like he was in pain too. But photos aren't showing me much because it still looks like the man himself.
Right.
He doesn't resemble a werewolf or anything, And I would like to see that, though. I mean, I really would.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which one was it the Leeds house in England?
For that particular story?
No, it's not the werewolf. They had a movie my wife and I just watched here not too long ago, where it was set in England, and they were supposedly sent by the Catholic Church to validate the threats, whether or not this kid was possessed or not. And we watched the movie, and while the movie was really cool, I wonder how much of that was actually true.
Was that
right?
Was that Edinburgh, or
I can't remember where it was actually. I think it was supposed to be outside of London.
Sugar Britches says it's Enfield.
Enfield. Thank you, Sugar Britches. I knew it was. I knew it was something E.
Yeah, that's a interesting. I think they might have something down about that. Let me look. Because Brandy, I think me, you, and Robbie were talking about that before.
I think we were, because we were trying to figure out the Gooden case.
Yeah. She was a single mom. Petty Hodgson called the police to her home in Enfield, telling them she had witnessed furniture moving, and 2 of her 4 children had heard knocking from the inside of the walls. And then that's where it talks about that in the 18 months, more than 30 people, including neighbors, psychic researchers, journalists, said they witnessed heavy furniture moving on its own accord and objects being thrown across the room. And 2 of the children, Janet and Margaret, were also photographed levitating several feet off the ground. That was in 1978.
Is that the one?
Like your movie?
I saw the photo of the girl levitating. It looked like she was jumping on the bed to me.
Did it? I've never seen it.
They actually, at the end of the movie, they showed the actual photo, and it just looked like somebody snapped a picture of this girl jumping on the bed.
So she was upright. She wasn't laying down.
She was upright. She was like,
you said it looked
had her arms out.
Trampoline.
Yeah, well, like she was jumping on a bed or a trampoline or something.
Yeah,
it didn't look like somebody was like flat on their back levitating in the air, because you could see. Well, you see when you take a picture, like you get motion in the picture. There was a lot of motion in this picture, so the picture they presented as evidence just looked like a girl jumping on a bed or a trampoline to me.
Because when you think of levitation, you think of being lifted up and held.
Yeah, if they were being lifted up and held, the picture would have been crystal clear.
Yeah, it would have been just her looking at you.
There's streaks of motion in it.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like. I guess after we get off of here, I'm gonna go and look. Picture.
I'm not going to try to disparage Ed and Lorraine Warrens. I'm not disparaging anybody. Go ahead.
But do you think that the blur? Can y'all hear me? Is my mic?
Yeah, we hear you.
So I was wondering, in a situation like that with the levitation, is there a blur that comes through just like how it does with cryptid stuff? Because I wondered that. I've seen some levitation pictures from other people, and that same effect where the people were saying, well, it looks like this person jumped up in the air off a trampoline. But what if that's the spirit causing that effect or distortion where it makes it look like it that person's in motion, but being
Well, see,
captured
there
on
you
camera.
go.
Do you think that's a possibility?
It is a possibility. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It definitely is a possibility, but Occam's
Mhm.
razor would say that the most logical explanation is probably the truth. It's probably a photo where somebody was trying to create evidence for bizarre claims, and I think that's the case in that what the movie we watched about the house in England. I think a lot of that was greatly expanded upon. I don't think if the event actually happened and if it was a truly documented case of the Warrens, I think it was greatly embellished. I think it wasn't nearly as insane as it was made to sound in the movie. That's why you get based on a true story. As this movie is factual as far as we can. Yeah, you don't get that's the reason they didn't call it a documentary. It was based on a true story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that case, I think it was loosely based.
Yeah. Paranormal evidence and things like that. I mean, well, let me just put it this way. Without Ed and Lorraine, they paved a way for a lot of us.
Yep, they have.
I wouldn't want to disparage anything that they've done because I wasn't there. None of us were there. But like you said in the one case where they were only in the house a few minutes and got chucked out, yet there was a whole movie about it. That causes some serious doubt on the credibility of the other sightings. Now, again, I wasn't there, can't say for sure, but they've greatly embellished one story to that extent. How much did they embellish the others?
Well, when it comes to movies, we know they're all embellished. I mean, let's face it. Absolutely. Let's face it. They want to make that dollar, so they're going to take whatever they can and do it. I mean, okay, Krista, let's talk about the Exorcist house. Let's just talk about that for just a second. They changed a lot of that story too.
They changed.
Didn't change the city.
Yeah, they changed most of it.
Yeah,
I mean, let's take a real world event that we all know happened. Lone Survivor. Marcus Luttrell told that story, wrote the book and everything, and was the on-set guy that walked them through making the movie. But even he says, what you saw on that film, there was no way that could translate. What really happened could not translate into that movie. So even though we know that's a real story, we know that most of those events happened. They still didn't happen exactly the way they showed them on the movie. Yeah. Because
I'll tell you what, you take the cases that Ed and Lorraine Warren have, and you just take the evidence alone and tell me about it, and I am fascinated. I mean, they have some really top-notch stuff that I have never ever ran across anywhere else, but through what evidence they've collected. So, I mean, they don't really even need to embellish a lot of the stuff that they had done, really, honestly, because, I mean, some of it was just phenomenal. Like I said, without them paving the way sometimes, like with seances and the Ouija board and it was just it came out as a game. The board came out as a game. And then somebody's like, hey, let's use it for this. And then all of a sudden people were figuring out that this actually worked, which is fantastic. Like I said, it's just people like them. And there's many others in the field that we don't have time to go into, because that's another 10-hour show, that have done the same thing. But the stories are fantastic. They are fantastic. Absolutely. And so when they embellish it, sure. I mean, it's going to happen. Even though we hate it, but it makes a good story.
I much prefer to be like you were saying. I would just like to hear the events, the actual data that they recorded, because anytime you grandiosely embellish the details for a movie, you lose the truth to it. You lose the real research, and that's the point where by doing that, are you casting more doubt on the field than you're really helping?
Right. Absolutely.
Well, we were talking about this one too. It's the Gooden case, the Gooden case out of Connecticut, where Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in by the police department. Well, maybe it wasn't the police department. I'm sorry. Let me back up. I'm lying. It was a psychic that was friends with this family. Well, they were having poltergeist activity. The police show up because they called the police because it was very crazy in there. It was like mass chaos and things were flying everywhere. The police were in there. Ed and Lorraine show up, and then the police were looking around trying to figure out who was causing this. Now there was a daughter in the home. I think she was about 12 at the time. Well, they were trying to figure out if she was doing it. So they actually had someone stay in the home while Ed and Lorraine left, stay in the home to make sure it wasn't this girl. Well, it wasn't. Then they have evidence where the police are actually testifying that things were being moved, such as a refrigerator was being moved across the kitchen floor by itself. And there was nobody in there, and nobody else was moving it by any means. They have all this testimony. And then shortly thereafter, the police chief comes out and says, it was all a fake. It was the little girl. She did it. She admitted it. There is no haunting here.
That's, you're one of they fall into the area of, are they just covering up the event because they don't want to look like idiots?
Oh, no, they were covering it up because I listened to the actual footage of the police officers discussing with Ed Warren about what was happening. And Ed asked him directly, is there any way possible that someone in this house did that? Could they have moved that? And he said no. You have it right there. You have a credible witness. And, the police chief just basically came and said, you're all crazy. That's basically what he said to all his officers, Y'all,
it'd be the same thing if Robbie or I, back when I was still active, if Robbie or I had come forward and said, we got a prowler call and I've got dash cam footage of a Bigfoot running at my car as I was backing down the driveway, that footage is going to get deleted and we're going to get told to shut up about it.
Exactly. And that's basically what happened. It was like the police chief there just shut the whole thing down. Just shut him down. And there was no reason for it because it was actually happening. Ed and Lorraine were called in while the police were still there watching plates flying across the room, knives, like I said, the refrigerator. I mean, everything in the house was basically being destroyed in front of their eyes.
And it's awesome that they got that documented, that there were witnesses to this.
There was witnesses,
even if the chief came forward and said, no, it never happened.
Yep.
It's still documented ahead of that point. So, no matter what the chief says, they've got that documentation. The problem is when you look at the movies, exactly how embellished they do the stories. It does as much damage to the paranormal field when they over dramatize these occurrences as it does to everybody posting red circle and arrow photos and grainy videos and go, yeah, there were 7 Bigfoot in this picture and it's blurry leaves.
Yep.
Well, yeah. And I mean,
way too much of that going on.
Yeah, for the police chief to blame this 12-year-old girl for moving a refrigerator was just crazy. It's just kind of like, how could she do that?
Well, that's the demonic. That's one of the ways you tell if it's a demonic case. The strength of a person.
Well, yeah, but the
refrigerator.
Yeah, the police chief said there was no haunting, there was no spirits, no ghosts, no nothing. There was just nothing. There's nothing going on in Connecticut.
It's a cover up.
So I was like, oh, nice. Just call me a liar. Thanks. I mean, can you imagine your boss just sitting there calling you a liar?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from a long point.
On The Exorcist, that really, Linda Blair played the, kid that was possessed, but it was really a boy. That movie.
It was really a boy. It happened in St. Louis.
And they call him Roland Doe.
Yep, Roland Doe.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it on Discovery Plus, they do have a documentary called what? Wow, gee, something Rolling Dough. The
Exorcist.
I can't remember, but it's on there.
But I
And
will tell you too, and the Booth brothers made a movie. It's called The Haunted Boy, and that's worth getting and
Right.
watching. And that tells the whole story. It goes all the way back to the Catholic Church, and they talked to the priest that did what partook in The Exorcist.
Yeah. Well, Bettina, you can come on up here. We'll drive by the house. We know where it's at.
No, I pass on that. Oh no, look,
It's 20 minutes from my house, literally.
Yeah,
I want to go there.
See,
Come on,
normally I'll probably be fully down with that, but since I had to go through exorcism like myself, I'm like, I'm too open to that kind of stuff. I'm scared. Like, I don't want to be. That is scary, and I don't even like to tell people that often. This was like 2017. That's terrifying. I mean, I still have stuff that happens around here every now and then still. So for me, I had to be like real careful what I delve into, and even sometimes researching certain stuff too much or talking about certain stuff like at a certain time at night. I have to be careful. Or it's been times, I'm telling y'all right now, something crazy happened about a couple of months ago that still terrifies me to this day. And I'm still, since it's nighttime, I'll talk about it on the show, but it's gonna have to be daylight when I talk about it because it's terrifying. Right. But I had to be careful. I'm telling you. I'm just gonna say this: if y'all have ever seen the movie 13 Ghosts,
Good movie.
Do you remember the jackal, the one that had that cage around its head?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, Christy, you heard her. You heard her. Now we're gonna do an interview. We'll have to tape it, but we're gonna do an interview with her during the day about this.
I'm definitely watching.
I actually know her story. Bettina's told me her story.
Well, see, don't tell me because I don't want to know. But you got it now, Bettina. Now I'm gonna have to sit there and I want to know.
It's terrifying.
I'm gonna have to know.
It's been some crazy stuff. Like I had to go through a 3-day period in Nashville away to go get an exorcism done, and then like other stuff that. Anyway, it's nighttime.
Yeah.
And see, the thing about it is that when I talk about this stuff, sometimes I'm looking in my bedroom right now because I feel like, stuff is listening, because I have to be careful because it'll be times like that. If y'all are aware, like sleep paralysis and stuff like that, that happens too. But sometimes people wake up out of their sleep from the sleep paralysis, which you're not really asleep anyway. That's
right.
You're
fully aware.
You're fully aware. But when you wake up and what is holding you down is still right there in the room with you, or still sitting on top of your chest, or your spirit is hovering up on the ceiling, looking down at your body laying on the bed below, or it's taking the covers off of you, stuff like that. That's when you know that sleep paralysis is real, and other stuff too, and especially when they talk to you. So that's why I am like careful about stuff like that, and that's why because I know stuff will follow you. I mean, I did a show with Bobby and her husband, Rick Adlerstein. They're paranormal investigators with Centers for Paranormal Research and Investigation. And he also was on that TV show, Paranormal Witness, where I can't remember what episode it was now, but he did an exorcism on a woman on that show who had actually had a boyfriend who would put some kind of witchcraft or some kind of spell on her. And he did an exorcism on this lady. Well, I had them on my show, I think, when I was still doing my shows in the group. And during that show, people in the live chat were saying, B, what is that behind you? What is that behind you? And I'm like, what are y'all seeing? It wasn't just one person that was saying that in the live chat. I'm like, what is it? What's going on? Like, what are y'all seeing right now that I'm missing? And so many people in the live chat were seeing this. And I said, hold on. And I just started, taking pictures with my camera. And when Krista, you seen the pictures, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Did I send you the picture? I started taking pictures with my camera of just to see what was around me, because everybody in the chat was like, P, what is that? And some people were talking about embrace the darkness. And I'm like, I'm not embracing no darkness. What are y'all? So I started taking pictures. And when I took the pictures, I was like, oh my God.
Right.
What? Because y'all see, like, if you're looking at me right now, like I like big hair, but I didn't have like a full froed out, messy afro wig that then came down and like started encompassing my body. Krista seen these pictures.
Yeah, you did send them to me.
I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
So Brandy.
talking about pictures though, I'm going to show you something here. Krista, can you put up that picture of the cemetery? Now, Bettina, check this out. Now, the guys have seen this. They've seen this before we got on live, but you got to see this picture I took just of the cemetery.
I'm going to show the beginning, the first one.
Okay, there you go. There's the cemetery. I took this picture, just a cemetery. Now, this is at nighttime, and it is locked and chained. There are no visitors in the cemetery allowed at night. Now, give me the next picture, please.
Okay.
Ma'am. All right. Now, smack dab right in the middle of this photo, you'll see a very tall tombstone, rounded, and it's tall. Look down to the bottom of it.
Looks like a little girl kneeling to pray.
Well, there's a little one. He looks like he's wearing black, got blonde hair, and he's sitting right smack dab right in the middle of the picture. And Bettina, I'll send these to you so you can take a closer look
like
at
the
it.
hands are steepled.
Right.
Yeah, almost does. Really does.
Yeah. And he's just sitting in there. And right off to the side of it, it looks like there's a little girl standing there right next to him.
Like she has a white shirt on or jeans or something? Maybe?
Yeah, it looks like the white shirt and jeans.
Back.
Yeah, you can see him back there. And they're blurred out, but that's because I had to zoom in and zoom in again to find this. Because this is what we do with our photos as paranormal investigators. We take photos and we will look and look and look till we, to make sure that there's nothing in it. And in this photo, I found 2 kids in a cemetery that is locked and no one's allowed at nighttime.
What area is the cemetery in?
This is in Salem, Massachusetts.
Wow.
This is in the Witches Cemetery.
Wow. I'm going to put up the next picture of...
This one's a little hard to see because I forgot to send, or I didn't send you the other one that shows it a great view of that.
I'm going to show this one. Do you want to explain this one where the entity is?
Yeah, right here I'm in the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs.
Been there.
If you look directly in the middle of it, you'll see like a shadow. It's my reflection, and you see my big hair hanging out in the middle. But directly to, if you're looking directly at the picture, to the left, you'll see a little tiny head.
Well, it's right above the stairwell.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at
the bar, the bar's going up. And I wish I could blow it up so people could see, because I did zoom in on it, and it's just as plain a day of a lady in period clothing.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's possible that might be a reflection of some of those old photos they have?
Okay, so that's what I was asked. Now, but there's another thing in this photo that you're not seeing because I didn't send the right picture. I mean, I didn't blow it up. But to the right of me, there is another manifestation, but it's a like, looks like a kid wearing a big hat and possibly glasses.
On this one though.
No, like I said, I'll have to get that. We'll post it on our Blondes and Booze site on Facebook.
I might have it on my computer because you sent it to me before, so I'll look real quick. Keep talking.
Okay, but I was in the Crescent Hotel anyway, so people were asking me at the same time, hey, what about portraits on the wall, blah blah blah. Well, I'm like, well, maybe you're right. Maybe I missed something. I went out there and I videoed the whole entire hallway, down the hallway I was staying in, down the other hallway. Not one picture on the wall.
Nice.
Not one. And I've got that on video too, that I actually went back and I see Brandon Cooper. He says he remembers me showing them that picture because I went back because I'm like, you know what? I got it. I got it. And I know I got it because there is nothing that could cause a reflection. Then they were saying, well, what if it's your daughter? First of all, my daughter had her glasses on, and this woman, if you could blow it up, is clearly not wearing glasses. She looks clearly older than a 12-year-old. And
And we will post it. I will get it posted this evening on Blondes and
yeah.
Booze. And people
It'll just take me just a
click on
second and I'll get it thrown up there.
in. Yeah, and you'll be able to zoom in.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll do it now real quick. So go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah. But like I said, I made sure I went back and, because somebody, questioned me. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Mhm.
So like I said, I went back and got that whole video, and there is nothing that could have caused that reflection. Not one thing. There is a picture of a guy. He's on the right side, and he's wearing black, and he is the only thing real in that entire photo besides myself. That's it. And he was walking down the hallway, crossing over, and yeah, he was the only one there, and he looked like more transparent than the lady did that I caught. She came in full, robust, colorful. She was beautiful. And I'm like, it looks like she sat there and posed for that picture. Because you can see it looks like her hair is up. It's parted down the middle, and it's up in a type of bun. It looks like that she's wearing some type of necklace and maybe a shawl. Now, the Eureka, the Crescent Hotel used to be, back in the day, it used to be a girls' school in the winter. In the summer, it would be, like a resort. But in the winter, it would be for these young, wealthy little ladies, and that's where they would go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So could I have caught, a spirit from that time era? Sure. It sure does to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just
the number
fantastic.
of people that have died in that hotel.
Oh yeah. There's one they call, oh gosh, I think his name is Mike. I'm going to call him Mike because I think that's his name. And he was working there, and he was on a floor above the floor I stayed on. And he was working up there. Well, he fell into a room and died when he was working upstairs. He fell through the floor and fell into this room and died.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they say he still haunts it, but he's a little kind of should I say a pervert? He likes the ladies. He likes to peek in on the ladies. So when people book it, like if it's a bunch of girls or whatever, they'll book that room to see if he'll come.
Mm-hmm.
Because they say that they'll hear him, like if you're in the shower, he'll be in the bathroom and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just crazy, crazy little stories. I mean, I even went down there, and me being nosy, I'm asking the people in the room, hey, did you see Mike? Did he come visit you? Because I wanted to know.
Right. Yeah.
So,
That's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. So we're into it at an hour and a half, and we still have to talk about urban legends.
oh Lord.
I got one here that I think everybody knows of. Anybody do Bloody Mary?
I've heard of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where you look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times, and she's supposed to appear in the mirror, and then she takes your soul is what the legend is.
She never came to me.
No, she didn't me either. So
I tried. She didn't come. Nope.
well, behind every urban legend, I believe there's some truth. And so this one actually does have a true story behind Bloody Mary. So her name was Mary Worth, and she lived in a cabin in the woods by herself, and she made herbal remedies. So today's times, it would be somebody like, a lot of people into like the metaphysics and the
A hedge witch.
holistic. Yeah, exactly. And so she did that. A lot of the townspeople were scared of her. And then little girls in the town started disappearing. And there was the miller's daughters, as they called her. She was hearing these voices, and she became like she was in a trance. And her mother was fighting a toothache with some herbal remedies that she had gotten from Mary, which is kind of weird. But she got in a trance, and she left the house, and the father was following her, and he couldn't catch up with her. She wouldn't stop. He was yelling for her to stop. So when he finally caught up with her, there was a light at the woods, and Mary was there, like pointing to the light. And then the father seen this, and I guess some townspeople or something were with him. and the curse broke because Mary ran into the woods. Well, they ended up catching her, and they burned her, literally burned her, and then she put a curse on the town and said that if you look at her, call her in the mirror, she'll come back and haunt you, and she'll take your soul. So
wow.
I wonder if that what the movie Candyman was based off of.
More than
Well,
likely.
there's actually a
It
Bloody
might
Mary
have been
movie,
because
too.
isn't that
Yeah.
basically what happened to him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Candyman, it was more or less he was a
He was a slave.
yeah, he was a slave, and I think that he fell in love with one of the plantation owner's daughters or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was either hanged or burned at the stake or something like that. And as he was dying, he made the curse pretty much the same way. But that's kind of like the Crybaby Bridge thing. There's just about every city in the United States has some type of Crybaby Bridge.
Or like the railroad tracks, and your car breaks down, you get handprints, push you across.
Yeah.
I think every town has that too. Yeah.
Well, we went and we have the Missouri Spook Light. So I mean, yeah, there's every state's got something.
Yeah.
For sure, it
it's
does.
terrifying when you think about that. All the news talking about urban legends, and I don't know if that what was that other game that came up with back in the day? It was stiff as a board, light as a feather. That actually worked for us. That actually worked for us when I was a kid. Oh
It
yeah,
didn't work for me.
Me either.
It did. It did.
You did what?
No,
Rob?
I was the one who posted that because I was laughing. I'm like, that crap never worked for me. Let me post this.
Oh. It was about 10 of us, and this is like, I think I might have been 12, anywhere between 12 to 14 years old, and it was a bunch of us girls at a baton studio. And of course, everybody wants to play Bloody Mary, and they had made a makeshift Ouija board and all this kind of stuff. And then there's about 15 to 20 of us all on the floor, like fingertips around this one girl that's in the middle of the floor. And I'm looking and I'm like, this crap is not going to work. This is ridiculous. But Kristen literally levitated, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 inches off the floor. And that was scary. There was all kind of activity happening that night. It was crazy. I never tried it again. It didn't creep me out or anything like that. I thought it was more interesting than anything, but that's the one and only time I ever played that. Thought it was interesting though.
Yeah, see, I would have been creeped out had someone levitated. It never worked for us.
The only thing that creeped me out that night was when the planchette shot off of the board that they had made. It shot off of there and kind of, because we were in a baton studio, and it shot off the board and like flicked off over into the mirrors that were like over there in front of us.
Wow.
And they were asking it all kind of questions. It was a 17-year-old boy who had gotten killed in a car accident, and it was asking it all kind of questions. They asked it, well, where are you right now? And it said here. And they was like, well, where is here? Is that heaven or hell? It wouldn't answer it, and it started counting backwards. It was weird. And then the last message that it said before they decided they didn't want to play it anymore, it said, run, kids. And that's when that thing flicked off the board and hit the mirror. After that, they didn't want to play no more.
Well, yeah, that's the bad thing. That's one of the bad things about an Ouija board is because you never really know who you're speaking with. They could tell you that you're talking to King Tut for all you know, and it's not. They could be lying to you. You don't really know. So you have to be very careful when dealing with that. We just had this discussion the other night. Well, probably a couple of weeks ago anyway, that my mom was the one who showed me how to use one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under supervision and everything. So when I was using it, so I'd learn exactly what to look for and to make sure that, who I'm speaking with is on the up and up, and what to do to close it out, never leave a board open, all that kind of good stuff. So I had that in my family. But man, I don't know if I'd have played with that without my mom. I don't think I'd ever would have even messed with it. I don't know.
What do you guys think of Ouija boards?
They freak me out.
They ain't messing with them.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 stepsisters growing up, and they tried to get me to mess around with that one day. And I'm like, They're like,
Smart.
"Oh, what's the matter? You scared?" I'm like, "No, I'm just smart."
Right.
Yeah. Well, still to this very day, I won't use one without someone who knows what they're doing.
Mhm.
Exactly. And the three of us didn't know what we were doing. I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
uh-uh."
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing because if you're using it with somebody who is new or doesn't understand it, that person can open you both up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they could put you both in some real danger from from whatever's in there. So, like I said, I won't use it with anybody who's never used one ever. They've got to have some experience.
Yeah, and my views on it, as long as, I don't think it's the board that's bad. I think
No,
it's putting it in kids' hands and things like that. I think that's bad.
The
I
board
think
is just more or less like a doorway or a gate
right,
or a
exactly.
key, port key, whatever you want to call it.
Right. It's like any other piece of paranormal equipment. I think a lot of that in the wrong hands, you ask the wrong questions, anything can come through, in my
well,
opinion.
yeah, I mean, because you're opening a doorway for something to actually manifest itself. You
Mhm.
know, you really don't want that to happen.
Right.
To me, I don't want it to happen because I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So I had a Parker Brothers Ouija board as a kid myself. And so me and my friend Kelly, we used to play with it all the time. And so this being came, and at the time we were like, I don't know, we were young and stupid. We were 14, 15 years old. And this entity said he was a 13-year-old boy named Sam. Never thought nothing about it. That never happened. We never closed it properly. We didn't know what we were doing. I had no business having it. Well, then
Right.
years later, my mom had it in her basement. It was just, in her basement from when I was a kid. Well, my kids found it. And so they started telling me about Sam that was on the board. I'm like,
Hmm.
what do you mean, Sam? Put that thing up. What are you guys doing? And so it kind of made me think, wow, that's kind of weird that they came up with the same name that Kelly and I got, 20 years before then. It was just weird that, anyway, we ended up selling it at my mom's garage sale. So
Me being a parent, I'd been the first one on going, yep, we're going to close this out right now. And then we're going to
well, I
burn it.
didn't
And we're
know
going to
back
bury it.
then. This was before I was really into the paranormal, and when my kids, did this, and it was early, mid 2000s, early 2000s. And yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about it at the time. So anyway, that was when they got that same name that we had, that kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie. So, and I don't believe it was, if it truly was something, that it was a 13-year-old kid, that come through. So
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for me, if it would have been something like that, and then my kids come across the same name, I would have burnt it and buried it. I really would have.
Yeah.
I'd have closed it out, burnt it, buried it, been done with it.
Wow. Yeah.
Because that
I
means
just
that
think that
that
it's
that
easy to
spirit was
open
hanging
up
onto that
portals.
board.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think any piece of equipment, like people, you can make your own Ouija board. All you got to do is write your letters out, and you can cut
Yep.
an A, a B, a C. Make your own. So anything like that, I feel like you can connect to the spirit world, and it could be in a negative way if you don't know how to do it properly.
Right. Well, I work with pendulums, so I
Mhm.
mean, there's that. It's the same thing, except I'm using a pendulum. I don't have a planchette. I have a pendulum,
Mhm.
and that's just easier for me because I don't have to rely on somebody else to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, I trust myself more. Just to do it myself and use the pendulum and the board. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally, if I see a Ouija board or something, our events that we hold, we don't allow them, or any
No,
scrying tools or anything like that. But,
no.
I have been around several investigators that have used the board, and, I personally don't partake in them, because I have done, some cases where some negative stuff come through, from people not properly doing the board, so.
But yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like I was saying. It's just if you don't have experience, I don't want to even use the board with you. I'd
Right.
rather just use my pendulum by myself, and I know what I'm doing, and I just
Mhm.
close it out and be done.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So Bettina, DA, I know you have, but Robbie, have you guys ever done any ghost hunts? Went on, ghosting or anything? I know, DA, you've talked about the cemetery.
Yeah, we haven't together. We live in different parts of the country.
Right.
He lives out in South Carolina, but we are planning on some outings together at some point, but it's probably going to be more cryptid related.
Yeah. But you've never done any ghosting? Have you guys,
But, we're if we can talk Anthony into it, which we're trying to do.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Well, come to Missouri and we'll take you to some cool places.
Oh, heck yeah.
I'm down. I'm not Anthony. I'm not scared to go into it, but as long as there's no
I'll be there.
Doll.
I'll protect everybody. Well, Crystal will be there. She'll make
dolls.
sure. Crystal will make sure all the really, really, really bad stuff doesn't happen, and I'll just protect you from the light stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, if there's any little creepy dolls, just get out of the way because I'm coming through, and there's going to be a door open, and
yeah. Looks like Bettina's trying to. Yeah, she's having issues.
I'm telling you, she's having a night like I had. Like last night, I had 30%. I had 30%. Next thing you know, it was gone like a zap. It was just gone. But let me just talk about that for a second, because I did have to. I told Chris, I said, call me when she was done. But I kept hearing stuff last night, and I'm starting to hear it again. But I kept hearing like knocks and things on the wall over by my bedroom. I can hear things moving over in the kitchen, and I keep looking. So if you see me doing that, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the kitchen. But it's just been strange.
You do have activity in your house, though.
I do. But I have not, like we were talking about last night, I'm not opening that can of worms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just, it's not bothering me. I'm like, just do whatever, just be quiet so I can sleep, and it's fine. It's like, DA, we were talking about that last night when you were saying doing EVP session and things like that. I'm not going to open it up. I don't want to have that type of communication, because once you start the communication like that, then it develops and it starts happening more frequently. And then next thing you know, you got a full blown problem.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when we say, if you got things happening in your home, just put a recorder down there and just listen.
Just walk away from it.
Yeah. Just listen. Mm-hmm. I caught all kinds of good stuff in my house, because I would be in my bedroom and I'd be asleep, and it'd wake me up out of a dead sleep, and I could hear it. It sounded like somebody was having a party out here in the living room. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'd have to go to the door, and I'd swing open the door, and I'd be mad. And I'd be like, if y'all going to play, you're going to have to play quietly. I got to sleep. And then I'd shut my door, and it calmed down.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I didn't acknowledge them like personally by name, man, woman, whatever. I didn't say, I just said, if you're all going to play, quiet, please. So I kind of like have to do that every now and again, because it does get a little bit crazy in here. And a lot of that is I don't bring things home with me. I make sure that I don't. I'm always protected when I go out. I know, but I think that this could be some of my family members. Now I have my dad's remains in my house. He was cremated, and I have him in my house. The reason why I have him in my house is because when my mother passes away, I'm going to have her cremated, and then I'm going to put their ashes together, and then I'm going to go to Colorado and dump them.
Yeah.
Because they were married in Golden, Colorado, so that's where I'm going to take them.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But my nephew, he was 21 years old, and he lived in my house during COVID. His dad was got COVID very early on, and we thought we were actually going to lose him, because it just devastated his body. Anyway, so his son came to live with us too. Well, this was in November. They decided, hey, we're going to go out. We're feeling, his dad was feeling pretty good. They're going to get their own place. 2 months later, he's out about 16 miles from my house, coming back this way. One car accident, ran off the road, hit a tree. The truck caught on fire.
Wow.
So, no, they said that he was alive when he got to the hospital, but I don't know. if he was, I don't even know if he was coherent or knew what was going on. But ever since then, the activity here has started progressing and getting louder and starting to become a little crazy. So we had a show on where we were talking about kids with abilities on Blondes and Booze. And we had Michael Christopher on, which he's a psychic medium. And, my daughter started talking about this shadow figure that she keeps seeing. And that it doesn't matter where she goes, whether it's here at the house or if she goes to other grandmothers, she catches glimpses of the shadow. And he called it out like nobody's business. He said, well, I'm seeing a car accident. And then he starts talking about this person was in a car accident. He said, does that make sense to you? I said, absolutely. So, that was just validation for me that these things are actually happening. So it makes you feel better, that somebody else is seeing what's actually going on without you telling anybody. They're like, oh yeah, I see it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Bettina, I sympathize with you when you start talking about having issues and you're afraid to talk about things, because it seems like sometimes when you start talking and acknowledging things that it just becomes like overblown. It's like everything just starts happening. Like there's so much activity, you just can't get it to stop.
Well,
but don't worry.
For right now, just like right now, like during this feed tonight, like I've gotten knocked out of the feed 3 times already since we've been on here.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what happened to me last night. Mm-hmm. It's like I had 30% left, and then within a few seconds, it was zapped and it was gone. Even my phone turned. I don't even know how that happened. It just turned, and there was no reason. It was like something zapped its energy. But don't you worry, Bettina. You got some good people over here that can take care of that for you. We can help you take care of that.
And it's look, I might have to have y'all come here, because like that's why I keep looking off every now and then, because I feel like it's just really weird. But whenever I get to talking about some of this stuff, because I done talked to Krista about this several times, like wanting to discuss some things and do shows about it, then it's like I'm always doing the shows at night, and then I got to go to sleep on that. And I've seen things or what's actually there in the room during some of the sleep paralysis stuff, and it's been different entities at different times. And then at one point, back when I was married, during one of my sleep paralysis episodes, my husband saw what was in the room during it, but it was on his side of the bed. Mm-hmm. And so it's really crazy. It's some really weird stuff to it. Like I said, anytime I get to talking about paranormal or demonic type stuff, something happens with the feed on the computer. It'll get to glitching like it's been doing. I've gotten kicked out of the feed 3 times already, because there's certain things that I want to say that they don't want me. It's embarrassing. They don't want discussed. They don't want revealed, and they don't want said. So therefore, because of that, it's like,
well, what I need you to do, I need you to message me your address. I'm going to send you some stones, some crystals and stuff, and I'm going to have you place these above your doorways and everything else in your home, and at least that'll help quiet it down. So just like I said, just message me your address and I'll take care of that. We'll get them all cleansed and happy, and you should be feeling a little better after that.
Well, usually it's not an issue, but whenever it comes to this kind of stuff, when I discuss this stuff, it is. But then, at the same time, I think Krista had mentioned before, sometimes like with depression and anxiety, sometimes that comes with these oppressive spirits as well.
They're feeding.
Yeah.
They're feeding off of your energy. Absolutely. Anytime your vibration is super high, they'll suck it right out of you. And that's what I was trying to talk to DA about last night, is even with cryptids, a lot of cryptid sightings, they're talking about being sucked of energy. Like they just feel like lethargic after these things are happening. I've read a bunch of them where they're just like, they just feel zapped. I think that the cryptid world and the paranormal world are actually becoming a blurred line. and people are seeing that it's blurring. It's like it used to be straight paranormal, straight cryptid. I don't think that's the case anymore, especially with more sightings and being documented. It's just like, wow, that all these things could be connected.
Throw some UFOs in there and you got it.
That's right. Well,
there are a lot of times encrypted reports where they say they saw lights in the sky immediately before or after the sighting.
exactly. Exactly. So I'm just thinking, this, because we were talking about, the cryptids being interdimensional. Absolutely. Because, if you think about it, the paranormal world talks about portals all the time. And do I think they exist? Absolutely. I know they exist. I know they do. So why would it be any different for a spirit to pass through a portal and a cryptid to pass through a portal? There's no difference,
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just going on a rant. I need to quit.
No, I mean that's true though. It's true. That's very interesting. I mean, it's when you've seen cryptids. For those of us who believe that there's the interdimensional paranormal aspect to them, when you've seen them appear and disappear just like a ghost would, then there's that aspect right there that makes you consider: is this interdimensional? Is there a portal? What spiritual being? I mean, I'm not saying that all of them are. I do think that there are some straight up flesh and blood Bigfoot and Dogman, but I do think that there's some that are spiritual creatures as well, or have both properties, or I don't know. And then sometimes I kind of wonder, do demons mock or manifest as them at times too? I don't know. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah. See, this is like a new frontier for me. Combining the two, paranormal and cryptids. It's like you're finding new things all the time, similarities, and I'm noticing the similarities now, and I'm like, wow, that is kind of crazy. That is kind of crazy. So, I mean, it's kind of good. We'll get the cryptid world and the paranormal world. We'll hook them up and we'll see what we find.
It was like the night we did the Bigfoot thing down at Lexington, out at the horse ranch.
Yeah,
we were doing the Bigfoot talk around the fire. Kristen, my wife, got something chucked at him, but that picture that was taken, what's up in the treetop, doesn't look like a cryptid to me. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's creepy as hell.
Right. Well, and like I said, your wife was down at the fire pit when I was walking down there. And I stopped and I shuddered and I'm like, "Who?" And she's like, "Did you get a chill?" And I said, "Yes, but no." And she goes, "Oh, you got one of those chills." I'm like, "Yep." Yes, I sure did. Because it's like when something paranormal, a ghost, spirit, entity, whatever you want to call it, is close to me, I always get chills. Like I get super, super cold. And I mean, it's like goosebumps everywhere. So she caught on to that. So don't underestimate her. She knows what she's talking about.
Well, the whole time we were down there was something moving, and it didn't show up on film, and it didn't show up when we hit that area with some pretty bright spotlights. We never saw anything moving, but we could sure hear it, and it sounded like it was right up close to camp.
Well, if you would have looked behind your wife and Krista, that was where I was hearing everything happening behind them. Now the
spotlight. Funny you should say that. That's where that picture was taken, and what's above them in the tree is kind of. If you've got that, Krista, if you could load that picture, especially the one I played with the color on.
Give me 2 minutes to find it.
Okay,
it might take me a minute.
Yeah, that picture's kind of telling. I mean, there's more than one face in that tree, and I don't know what they are.
Now this was behind Krista.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it was one that Mike Brown took.
Yep. All right, you know what? I got one because I think I may have caught the same thing.
Well, see if you can find yours, and I'll continue to look for the one that DA fixed. That was Mike Brown's here. Real quick.
Unfortunately, I'll have to send it to everybody when we're off. Remember, I have to use my phone.
Yeah, I'll just keep talking. Give me a couple minutes. Here.
She's looking for it.
I'm going back and looking in our chat.
Yeah, but I mean, that was kind of crazy. And then we were just all sitting out there and just talking stories.
Okay, B. Hope you feel better.
Yes, feel better. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
But we were just sitting
Oh,
out
good.
there and having, just a discussion. We were just talking about, stories or experiences and things like that. And we're having all this activity around us now, but I was still getting the feeling that it wasn't all necessarily cryptid.
It's not out there, as you know.
No, it could be cryptid. It could be some type of spirit out there, because we've had both.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
paranormal stuff out there.
Yeah, it really confuses your senses for sure, because you're like, what is that? What is making that sound?
Right. Man, I'll tell you what, we talk a lot in this Blondes and Booze chat. Just saying. Shit. I'm scrolling on through here.
Check your messenger. I just sent them to you.
Perfect. There we go.
Let me see if I can find the original.
Yeah, I'm gonna save this real quick. Let's see. Save it.
Good night, B. We miss you.
Hope you get feeling better.
Yeah. She said her neck is kicking her butt. I'm sitting here holding my side going, okay.
She posted and said that. Hey.
I think I should really start drinking heavily. Of course, I'll probably fall down and break something else.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Okay, let me save this one. I'm working as fast as I can here.
Oh,
No
that's
problem.
all right. That's all right. I'm just talking about getting drunk and falling down. I mean, what a great subject.
Right.
But but it was such a nice night. We were out there. Now it was kind of cold when we were out there.
It was a little chilly.
Yeah, but I was smart. Brought my blanket, had my hoodie on.
Yeah.
I'm always prepared.
I wasn't too bad that night.
I was standing right by that fire, so I felt like a rotisserie chicken.
I got pictures of that. It looks like your whole body's on fire. I need to send you those. But
Awesome.
I did catch something out there, but it came up in 2 pictures, but it didn't come up in because I took 5 consecutive, and it came up in 2 pictures and not all 5.
Okay, so I can do it now. Got it up here. So I'll post the first one, the dark one.
I can't find the original unedited photo.
Yeah. So this one here.
It was very hard to see anything.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
this is okay. So backstory to this. A teammate of mine and Brandy's named Mike Brown. He posted these pictures on Facebook after this event. Then Jessica Potter, who she's a psychic medium also, she had said that she sees something in this red area and circled it and sent it back to Mike. Well, Jessica's the one that told me about that my Bigfoot experience, what happened out there. And she totally recreated it without us saying anything. So anyway, so I kind of give some credence to Jessica Potter. And so Mike had sent it to, I guess, myself and DA. And then DA took it and kind of took the color out. Do you want to explain to him, DA, this picture here?
Really, all I did was just lightened it.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't modify the image in any way. I just lightened it.
I can see several creatures or something.
Yeah, well, the one face is really pronounced, but it looks like there's partial faces of other things peeking through the trees. And this is not all. This was just I took the photo he sent, and the area that was circled, I just cropped that out and zoomed in on it. Other than that, the only thing I did was like color correct it so you could see it in more of a inverted fashion.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think these are pretty interesting myself, especially the fact that, like Jessica Potter, you couldn't see it in Mike's original pictures. I personally didn't see much. And that's what I find interesting, And
now, this was taken right above your head.
Yeah. Mine
up in the trees.
Yeah, almost directly above them, kind of above and to the if you're facing the image, kind of above and to the right a bit, but it's almost directly above them.
Right.
Okay, because I was sitting directly in front of you, DA. I was sitting directly in front of you, and I was taking pictures that would be off to the left.
Okay. If it was off to your left, then that was the direction it was at.
Okay, that's it then. That's where I've got the two.
It would have been my right as I was facing the crowd talking.
Okay. Yep. Then I'll get those and I'll send those to you and see what you have to say, because there was several things in there. But then again, I'm looking at it going, well, and in the paranormal world, if in doubt, throw it out. That's what we do. If it could be something else, we just don't pay attention to it. So we just.
Well, I can't say with any degree of certainty what's in that tree.
Yeah, but there was something in it.
Something.
Because
that is the same spot where.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's the same spot where they were getting stuff chucked at them.
Yeah.
That's one of the same areas where we kept hearing something pacing.
You could hear the stuff hitting the ground.
And it was also probably within 100 feet of my incident out there too, which is interesting. So
yeah, that's right, because you would have just went up that little hill, and that's where you were.
Right outside Kathy's camper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. And like I said last night on your show, DA, it just really freaks me out, all this stuff now, because of how many times I've been out there at night by myself. So,
I want to go back up there and just hang out at the ranch. I really
Let's do it anytime. Well, we got to wait till after hunting season.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go up there and do something similar with the fire, but I want to stay out there a lot longer. We were only out there for like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
I want to spend the night out there.
Well, we've got what would be probably a good time would probably be the end of March or somewhere in there, beginning of April, somewhere in there.
I just have to see what their schedule is out there with hunting, because now it's kind of being taken over by that. And I did briefly talk to Kathy this week about it, and she told me who I need to contact now. So I will do that. I'll see if I can come up with something, and
Well, nothing's going on March and April.
Yeah, but he also has weddings and stuff out there, so we have to plan with them out there too. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Book early, I guess.
Yeah. Robert, you going to come up and go with us?
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be fun.
Well,
because you don't have to go very far. You don't have to go very far at all. You just walk to that tree line and everything starts happening.
Thing about that picture is, if it was just that, if somebody snapped a picture and they said, "Hey, I found this weird thing in the picture," that would be one thing. But considering that was where a lot of the pacing was coming from, that's where items were getting chucked from, and that's also, if you would have continued on that direction through the woods, was up where we saw whatever the hell that was cross the road in front of us.
Yeah.
Well, you had so many witnesses out there that can attest to this happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I was watching it and hearing it happen. I could see the things coming through the trees, because you can see it kind of hit the leaves as it would come through, and then you could hear it hit the ground, and you can hear the walking, the leaves and the branches, and I mean, I heard all that.
And I'm pretty sure everybody that was there heard the stuff walking in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You weren't sitting that far from me, Brandy.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
So,
I would give it maybe a good 20 feet, maybe if that. If that.
You guys were pretty close together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we'll just tell everybody this will be a to be continued show.
Yeah.
Either this show or DA's or both.
Yeah, we might as well just do one or the other and connect them and just do it all and have one big party.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be
As
fun.
Carrie would say, I'm down like 4 flat tires.
Yeah. Well, we're going on 2 hours, so
yep.
Yeah, I know Brandy's got to get up 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
Actually, I do not.
Really?
I got tomorrow off.
Nice.
We're not open. I mean, that's amazing. Well, during COVID now, we were working 5-6 days a week at 12 hours a day. So this is kind of like, okay, it's nice, but I'm missing that money, missing that money. But it's kind of nice to have a little bit of time off. It's been after 2 years. 2 years of this is a little excessive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why everybody wanted cabinets during COVID, but hey, I'm glad your kitchen
stuck
got
at home. Might as well do all
bathroom,
them home projects.
right? I mean, my hands are full of splinters and blood blisters, but hey, it's okay.
No, I don't recall ever thinking, you know what, we're right in the middle of a global pandemic. Let's remodel the kitchen.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
you've also you've got to think about it though, is like the natural disasters. Like we just went through that hurricane in Florida and everything got flooded and da 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 da. You know what? As soon as the insurance goes through and FEMA kicks in and does all this stuff for all of these people, they're going to start rebuilding. So we're looking at about 6 months out. We're going to be busy again. You know,
If that long.
yeah. It takes a while for it to filter to us because they have to find the cabinets and plan it out and do whatever they got to do.
Right.
So usually it trickles down about 6 months is what it takes to hit us. And so many companies that do the same thing we do went belly up during COVID. We're like one of the top competitors in the field. So we're pretty much busy all the time. So, hey, order your cabinets because I want to stay, employed.
Brandy needs job security.
I need job security. Yeah. I'll make that wood cabinet. Yeah.
We're going to tell everybody good night.
Yes.
And I appreciate everybody stopping in and joining us. Thank you to DA and Robbie and Bettina. And this has been fun.
It has been fun.
These little impromptus with you guys. You guys are a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I always enjoy. I always have a good time.
Yep, for sure. We'll see everybody at the next one. Actually, the next one is
Thursday.
It's next Thursday, 8 p.m. And it's Jessica
Michael
Potter
Christopher.
and Michael Christopher are going to do live readings. So if you want to get in on that.
Yeah, come on and get a reading. Me and Chris are going to be sitting in the background going da 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 da. Yep. But hey, we can make comments in between, make a couple jokes. Yep. We can be entertaining.
Right. Well, good night, everybody. See everybody
Bye.
next week.
Have a good night.